Now, the United States is no more hiding its trade enmity with India. White House trade advisor Peter Navarro went on an unprovoked tirade against Prime Minister Narendra Modi in an interview to Bloomberg. Navarro accused Prime Minister Modi of financing Russia's war in Ukraine by purchasing discounted oil from Moscow. Navarro even called it Modi's war, claiming energy imports from Russia by India is fueling Putin's war machine while hurting the American economy. But this outrage from a man presenting a country that has toppled elected governments, backed brutal dictatorships, and funded wars from Latin America to the Middle East rings dangerously hollow. He called India arrogant for asserting its sovereign right to buy oil and lectured India to act like a democracy. But perhaps it's time someone asked, shouldn't America act like one too? This is the same America that engineered the 1953 coup in Iran, removing a democratic government to install the Shah. It backed General Pinochet in Chile, who ran a regime of disappearances and torture. It funded a right-wing death squads in Latin America through the Cold War. Armed and trained Pakistan's military even as it backed the genocide in Bangladesh in 1971, killing over 3 million civilians. And today, it turns a blind eye to authoritarian regimes as it serves its strategic or economic interests. And now, with US tariffs on Indian goods doubled to 50%, Navarro has weaponized trade policy to punish India for not aligning with Washington's foreign policy choices, even as China, which is the largest buyer of Russian oil, faces no such pressure. Where was America's outrage when its allies were importing Russian gas throughout 2022? Where is the lecture on democracy when US partners cracks down on dissent? New Delhi has rightly hit back, calling the tariffs unfair, unjustified and unreasonable, reminding the world that Russian oil is not under global sanctions and that India's energy needs cannot be dictated by Washington. In this moment, India isn't just defending its right to buy affordable oil, it's defending its sovereignty, its economic security and yes, its democracy against pressures from countries that too often uses that very word as a tool of coercion and not principle. Let us take a look at how US intervention policies have landed in Korea. It is a divided country today. Meanwhile, in Vietnam, a costly war was in fact fought, which led to large-scale deaths. In South America, it intervened in Grenada, in Panama, and overthrew governments there and had its own puppet governments. Cold War operations, covert support for brutal anti-communist regimes were suppressed in terms of democratic movements. In the Gulf War, it liberated Kuwait but left a destabilized Iraq, setting the stage for future conflict. In Kosovo, NATO bombing campaign halted ethnic cleansing but also caused civilian casualties and long-term regional instability. In Afghanistan, 2 decades of war aimed at counterterrorism ended with chaos, raising questions about the cost, strategy and outcome of US presence. In 2003 invasion, unjustified war that toppled Saddam Hussein, leading to years of insurgency, sectarian violence and regional destabilization. And in post-2014, ongoing fight against ISIS with questionable success and heavy civilian toll. In Libya in 2011, NATO intervention under humanitarian pretext resulted in regime collapse but left the country fractured and in turmoil. In Syria, limited direct intervention focused on combating ISIS, yet indirectly fueled prolonged civil war and regional instability. So these are the interventions that the United States has sought, and today you have a close trade advisor to Trump calling it as Modi's war. The Prime Minister, in fact, was the first to go ahead and said that this is not an era of war, and that too to a very close friend of India, Russia. And yet the Americans, in fact, have exposed their double standards when it comes to India, where Peter Navarro now, in fact, saying that this is a war for Prime Minister Modi, and he also went on and said that 25% tariffs would in fact disappear immediately if India stops buying Russian oil.